Move out of the way, cheese boards, because hot chocolate boards are getting all the attention. They're basically really yummy dessert boards that pair nicely with hot chocolate, coffee, or even tea. You can add your mix-ins into your hot beverage or eat it on the side. And I pair it with a homemade salted caramel sauce, which I think adds that nice little touch. I also show you how to package everything up in a cute way to take it as a Christmas present on the go. So if that sounds interesting to you, then grab your cup of hot cocoa and keep on watching. What's up, universe? It's Julie, your kitchen coach, and welcome back to our channel. And in case you are new, I'm a trained chef who's passionate about helping beginner cooks gain confidence in the kitchen. And today we're going to be tackling a hot cocoa charcuterie board. You know, I feel like all charcuterie boards are all the rage during the holidays, but this is kind of like the newest thing. And I feel like with all charcuterie boards, it's best to make at least one homemade element, if not more. So whether you make your own whipped cream or a salted caramel sauce, I feel like it's nice to have that one little personal touch. Caramel is sometimes a little bit daunting. This is probably like my fourth attempt making this recipe, if not more. I've seen variations of this recipe all over the internet, but I am gonna talk about technique. I'm gonna troubleshoot some things for you. First off, it's very important to start out with a heavy bottom pan. And when I mean heavy bottom, I mean like heavy bottomed, okay? The first few times I tried making this caramel sauce, I totally used the wrong pot. I used this guy, okay? And now if you checked out this video, I talked about the importance of having really good basic essential pots and pans. And I told you that I'm trying to upgrade to a heavy bottom, like an all-clad for like a 4-quart, the kind of saucepan. I didn't even realize it was that important to have a heavy bottom pan, even though the recipe stated so, until I burned and seized my caramel like 3-4 times. The sugars don't have a chance to dissolve properly, and then you're just set for disaster. Light colored is a bonus, so you can keep an eye on the color. I'm not gonna be using a thermometer. In this recipe, all you do is use your eyes, nose, and instinct. Second thing is make sure that your ingredients are at room temperature. So I have my heavy cream and my butter, and you need both of these to be at room temperature because they're gonna be the thing that stops the sugar from burning too fast. Sugar goes from caramelized to burnt in a snap. So you gotta make sure that you have these guys to the rescue. Third thing is there is a chance that no matter how careful you are or how much of an expert or how much of a kitchen coach you are, you can burn yourself, as is proven by my Band-Aids, because I did burn myself. It was a freak accident, a flick of a wrist, and the sugar just splattered. And let me tell you, I didn't have my trusty bowl of ice water next to me. That's the third tip. Make sure you have this next to you so that you can safely guard yourself. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, but if it does happen, all you have to do is dunk your hand into it right away, and that should help. I didn't do that, and my weird first instinct was to kind of like scrape it off or like lick it off, and that doesn't help. You could wear a kitchen glove if you want to, but I find it to be very unwieldy. It's hard to control and whisk with a mitten on. So I would say those are my rules. Okay, we're gonna set our heat to medium high. You don't want it to be too low because it'll take forever, but not too high or it'll scorch. I have 2 cups of sugar, just plain granulated sugar. And what you're gonna do is just kind of like whisk it. This is called the dry method. There's 2 methods. Usually there's the wet method where you add sugar with water, and then there's the dry method where you're just letting the sugar itself melt. So it's gonna turn clumpy, but you're just gonna keep stirring through the clumps and let it dissolve. When you see a lot of these kinds of how to make caramel sauce videos, it's almost like that BuzzFeed style where it's like super fast and like fast forwarded, and like it looks so easy, but then you don't like know what you did wrong when yours doesn't come out right. So I'm trying to walk you through. So I would say my number 1 mistake was not using the right pot. Make sure it's heavy bottomed. Did I say that enough? For this salted caramel sauce, it's 4 ingredients. It's sugar, unsalted butter, heavy cream, and salt. This is 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter. It's a lot, but this makes 2 cups of caramel sauce. In some recipes, you can add vanilla extract. Like you can do that too if you want to. I tried adding vanilla extract in another batch. It was good, but I kind of like this one where it's like just simple and plain, and you can actually taste the caramelization of the sugar and the salt. You can see how it's starting to get a little toasty and amber in color. And see how these little snowballs or like snowflakes are clumping up. I'm just making sure that I get into the corners and the edges. Now your goal is for all these little nuggets of crystals to break down and melt into one smooth sugar sauce before you add the butter. Why it's important to use room temperature ingredients when adding to your caramel sauce is that because if it's cold, it's gonna have more chances of like sputtering and creating air pockets and like flying out. I'm gonna turn down my heat just a little bit at this point because some of my sugar crystals are still pretty clumpy and I want them to have a chance to melt down before the rest of the caramel gets too dark or even scorched. I think ultimately you're just gonna have kind of like a sticky mess stuck on the bottom. And I'll tell you the fastest way to get rid of that sticky mess, even if you do burn or scorch your caramel, is to put water in your pot and put on low and it'll just dissolve and it'll come off. You don't have to use elbow grease and scrape. Okay, that is looking good. Do you see that? It's like turning very silky smooth, and that's a really lovely amber color without getting too dark. And it helps that my heat's on low. I'm gonna incorporate the butter. You throw in the 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter, room temperature, all at once. All at once just means that you put it in at the same time, not like dump it in there. See, it's starting to get a little bubbly and foamy and dramatic. Once the butter is all melted, you don't see the butter anymore, you turn your heat off. So what I do is I turn my heat off right at that cusp, like right when you think that all the butter is about to melt, I turn it off because you're gonna let the residual heat do it. And it will start to separate a little bit and a little bit sticky and tacky, right? Now, you're gonna take this off the heat, like completely off the heat. Okay, and then I'm just gonna pour in my room temperature 1 cup of heavy cream and do it slowly. It sputters up again, but it'll calm down. And you'll see that it is seizing up a little bit again. Seizing means that it's starting to get kind of like tacky and gummy, and you think that it's not gonna turn out, but you keep going. There is a point of it being too seized up and too tacky. So if that happens, that's probably because your sugar got cooked too much and you might have to start over. This caramel sauce, you'll notice, unlike maybe some other caramel sauces, is very runny. And it's super runny right now. What happens is that as it sits in the pot and then also in the fridge, because you keep this in the fridge, it will thicken up. And then as you want to serve it, you can microwave it, heat it up for a few seconds to make it runny again. At this point, I'm going to add in my flaky sea salt. Many recipes say for this amount to use about 1 tablespoon of Maldon or flaky or fleur de sel salt. I'm using 2 teaspoons, so it's just like a teaspoon less than 1 tablespoon. So I'm doing, see, Maldon salt is like that flaky, like crystal like salt. And it kind of like lingers on your tongue a little bit, but then doesn't stay forever. So I feel like that's why it's good. Sometimes you see actual chocolates or chocolate truffles sprinkled with a little bit of this Maldon salt. I'm gonna let the heat of this sauce just melt that flaky salt until it's well incorporated. I'm gonna let it sit in the pot as is for about 2 minutes. Then I'll transfer it into a measuring cup and we'll just go make our little board now. Welcome to my candy land. I had a lot of fun shopping for all these elements. My first step is I went to Home Goods and I picked out just a couple of things that I thought were kind of like showstoppers. So I spent my money on just a few expensive things and then I just went to other stores and got the fillers. So I got these stir sticks, and these you can stir right into your hot milk or into your hot chocolate or coffee. And then I also got these little fun pink and white twisty marshmallows. A golden rule that I have is try to keep a more limited color palette. So I wanted to go with kind of like the pink, red, and neutral brown, cream, white, that kind of thing. Your charcuterie board will look different from mine. Actually, every time I build one, it looks completely different from the first time I had it. And I went also at HomeGoods and I found this guy and I thought he was so cute. This I love because it has kind of like this plaid, but you won't be able to see, it'll be covered in candy and cookies. I thought this guy was good for making this cocoa board at home, because especially now we're not doing a lot of parties and gatherings, so why make these huge boards? You can still make these boards at home for just your family. Once you have your board settled, you're gonna wanna grab a couple of different bowls and ramekins, and you don't know what you're gonna actually use, so just grab a bunch. I have these cute little mugs that say mug on them. So I think I'm just gonna grab one mug and put it here. And then I'm gonna grab this little small guy because I have some sprinkles, this little smaller ramekin here. But it is nice to have different size bowls or containers or cups at various heights. This guy, I think I'm gonna put him on the side. I have marshmallows, and these are just plain marshmallows, but I wanted to have fun with it, so I got 3 different sizes. Don't you love these huge jumbo guys? So I'm gonna put maybe a couple of these jumbo guys here. I'm gonna add the medium size ones and then the smaller mini marshmallows here. You can always add more, so start off with that. These are some gingerbread cookies that I found, and you can just find these at grocery stores during the holiday season. And then these actually are from, the Pepperidge Farm brand, Ginger Man. And I was lucky enough to grab the one last bag that was left there in the store. Next to the marshmallows, I'm gonna prop some of my ginger men. General rule, I like to always add odd numbers, so I'm gonna start with 5 gingerbread guys here. And then I like to kind of mimic whatever colors I have, but like on the opposite side. I'm gonna use these other gingerbread men, and I like that it's similar but different. Speaking of gingerbread men, I decided to go not only with a neutral color palette, but kind of like one theme. So obviously there's lots of Christmas themed stuff, like there's Santa Clauses and Christmas trees, reindeers, but I wanted to just stick with like the gingerbread man theme. That's why I found these little gingerbread men sprinkles. So I'm gonna use this little ramekin. So this will give me an idea of color. So I got some of my browns and caramel colors going. Speaking of caramel, I gotta make room for my caramel too. I'm using these 4-ounce jars, but I got these jars because I wanted to purposely gift them. So I'm like, you know what? I might as well use this for my board too. Rearrange if I need to. I'm gonna go with my larger items next. As you can see, this is kind of like my white palette. So it's fun to have different kinds of white or one colored, but like variations of it. So these are the largest size cookie. So I'm gonna put this like maybe here because I see white there. So this guy, I'm gonna do 5 maybe. You can always take it away, so don't worry too much. For right now, I'm feeling just the star shapes. It looks like these little sprinkled cookies come with Christmas trees and wreaths, but I think I'm leaning more towards the simple star shape. So I'm just gonna pick out those. That jazzes it up, I think. Okay. The key to good charcuterie boards in general, I feel like, is that there's a lot of variation, textures, sizes of things, but that you also have like a repetition thing. I'm kind of stumped right now. Like I'm not exactly sure which way I want to go. So I think I'm just gonna fill the bowls with my chocolate melts. These are plain Baker's dark chocolate melts, and I decided to do dark chocolate and milk chocolate. For milk chocolate, I got these kind of like Baker's little stars. Don't you love that clatter? I think it's looking festive already, right? It looks so warm and comforting. I got some white chocolate melts, and I feel like this is a nice variety. When you already have like a hot cocoa, you can add some white chocolate to it too. Next thing I'm gonna use is these white chocolate covered pretzels, and these are just like anytime, anywhere. So they don't look festive or particularly holiday, but they work for this. I'm kind of enjoying this like neatly stacked look, and let's put these guys in. I think that this would still look pretty without a pop of color. I think that just general neutral palette looks really nice and cozy, but I thought this was so fun when I saw it at HomeGoods, and these are the specialty marshmallows. And I think that just kind of like jazzes it up a little, like brightens it up and gives it some life. Milk chocolate melts. Oh, I just noticed that there's like different sizes. That's kind of fun and cute. Some are big and some are small. I'm gonna try to put it over here because there's already some dark brown over here. Having these kind of smaller items is good for filling in the negative spaces. So you start off by blocking it out with some of your larger vessels and your larger items, and then you can always fill in where it seems a little empty with these smaller things. Now, I feel like there needs to be a little bit of the repetition of the marshmallows. Again, I'm just going by feel. I think the last time I made this, it didn't even look this way. Maybe just a few more pretzels on top. I love like textures and layering, so it's like the same color. I think I could afford to put a little more of these ginger men over here to fill it up. I think I could put some more stars here. I'm gonna put in my sticks. Again, because this is gonna be the board that we keep at home, I'm just gonna take it out of the packaging because I think it just looks nicer. Put it right inside this mug here. It's nice to have something kind of vertical popping out too. So if you can put taller items like candy canes, pretzel sticks, like chocolate covered pretzel sticks, just like lots of inspiration if you just look for it. Ooh! I have some Pocky sticks, or like, you know, like Korean pepero. Sometimes they sell it in the Asian market. Sometimes they just sell them at Costco. Actually, you know what? I feel like this is too close to this dark chocolate, so I'm gonna put it somewhere else. Yeah, that looks better. See, like now your eye kind of moves. I don't know if I wanna add the red. These are kind of like soft peppermint candy cane sticks. I got these from the dollar store. So I don't know if I wanna add the red pop to this board, or if I think I just wanna keep it separately in the mug and then just have it next to it. I think it looks really cute. I should also mention, if I felt like it, I could have even whipped up some fresh whipped cream and put that in a bowl on the side. If I had time, I would have probably even made a batch of my sweet and spicy nuts, and you can check out the recipe in this video. This is perfect. I give this also away as gifts sometimes in a nice pretty mason jar with a nice card and label. Now, for this caramel sauce, it's been sitting here for a few minutes, just cooling down in the measuring cup, and I didn't thicken it. So you can remember how runny it was when you first cooked it. But now as it's been sitting here, it thickened up really nicely. It's still pretty runny because that's the consistency of this recipe in particular. But it's not separated, it's not greasy, it's not bumpy, it's very smooth and velvety. Very pourable. And put this right in the center. If you want to, you can add a little bit more sea salt. This says fleur de sel, but it's actually Malden salt. They're actually two different salts. For garnishing, just so you know that it's salted caramel. So I'm probably gonna do some final touches and tweaks before I do a little photo shoot and things like that, but I'm gonna move on to a next variation, which is when you wanna give it away as a gift. This is what I picked up actually from the Dollar Tree, these little like chip and dip kind of segmented trays. And I thought this would be perfect for transporting. And I've also got coffee filters, and I just took a coffee filter and cut it down just a little bit. So like I folded it up and I trimmed it down just a tad. And I also found these at the Dollar Tree. These are just kind of like, you know, condiment holders. I started this out already, but I gotta add a few more elements. So when I package it, I'm gonna package it like this, where, you know, it's covered with the saran wrap so that they don't fall apart, like all the sprinkles don't shake out. Wasn't sure what I was gonna use, but it all worked out. This tray in particular is actually just for show, for our video. When I make these for real for the teachers' gifts and for Joe's coworkers, I'll probably be using gloves and doing it a little bit neater than I'm doing right now. I just made this as a sample for you guys. So I kind of started with the same idea, but it's got to be a little bit different because of the segments in the tray. I still tried to play around with, you know, different textures and layers. Chocolate chips, so I might put them right here. I think because of transporting, I'm not going to include the Pocky sticks because they look better when they're not in the packaging, but they might break, they might get stale, so I'm just gonna leave those out. Probably just gonna add one of these gingerbread men because I don't have a lot. I just have that one package. Oh, and then my little star cookies. I didn't have that before also. So I could fill the rest here with my star cookies. I just put the candy canes here. And then with the glass jars, what I did was I tied a black and white kitchen twine around it twice, just because I thought it was a cute little look. And then Joe designed this nice little label for me. And you can check out our website at this direct link on chefjulian.com. The direct link will also be in the description box if you want a free printable of these labels. They'll fit exactly these 4-ounce jars on the top. You can choose to print it on like a whole sheet of sticky label, which is what we did because we didn't have 2-inch circles. You can also print it on like regular paper and just like tape it on too. And it says salted caramel sauce, homemade with love, just for you, and please keep in the fridge. And you just put the lid on. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in the center, right here. That's why I like this kind of like chip and dip compartment. There's like a spot in the center. Actually, I think I'm gonna, see, I'm still puttering around with this. Oh, you know what? I'll just do this. Ha ha ha, there. Once again, I'm gonna wrap the individual cups, pull tight so that it looks nice and smooth. Granted, this won't look as pretty as like a charcuterie cocoa dessert board at home, but I think it still looks really sweet. And it looks like there's a lot of effort with a touch of homemade, a touch of gourmet. And Joe was nice enough to make me another label, which you can also find this printable free on chefjulian.com, same link. That way you can just stick this on or tape it on with washi tape. So this is nice and tight so that it won't like shake around too much on you. You can also get cellophane wrap or those like gift bags and just put it in the gift bag too. So it'll be like one of those things. I will probably just get this little tree ornament and a tag, wrap it with some red twine, stick this little label on. And if you want to, you can even add a package of cocoa. Yeah, and then you get the idea and it'll be like that. And I think that's like a super sweet gift. And this is what I plan to do, again, for all those gifts for like coworkers and teachers this year. And I think it will be well appreciated and well received. And I think it's like not too obnoxiously huge too. So it's like not overwhelming for a small family. So whether you make this hot chocolate charcuterie board for gifts or just for yourself and your family, if you're watching this when it's a little too late for Christmas gifts, then just save this in your pocket or your collection of ideas in your mind for next year. I think it'll still be appreciated and timeless. But with a lot of us staying at home more these days, I feel like this is a fun way to jazz things up. It makes you just want to dive in and pick at things. Everything in here is meant to be so that you can dissolve it into your hot drink or eat it with your hot drink. If you want to step it up a notch, you can also add some savory elements. Like, that cheese and chocolate is a trend. Add some salty pretzels, some spiced nuts, and really go wild with it. I think this is really cute and cozy, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this. If you did, remember to give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below. Have you already made a hot chocolate dessert board, or would you want to make one this year? Remember to hit that bell for notifications and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Merry Christmas.